Hello, lovely people of the internet. This is Brian from NintendoEverything.com, here with Daan again to chat about this week in Nintendo news.
Hello, everybody.
There was a lot of Nintendo news this week, Daan, wouldn't you say?
Yes, there was, certainly, yeah.
I would say, especially compared to the last 2 weeks, there was a lot to talk about, and I think we're going to focus on a few main things, and I imagine it's going to take up quite a bit of time because, again, there was a lot to discuss.
Yeah, I think we'll easily, fill up the 25 minutes, because last week we kind of had to pull in my impressions to fill that time slot.
Yeah, that's true, but let's get started with this week's Splatoon Direct, which happened on Thursday. And last week we were kind of talking about how this seemed kind of like an early announcement from Nintendo, because usually we only hear about Directs like a day or two in advance, but I guess it doesn't really matter, and it did air on Thursday. And I would say we learned quite a bit about the game. I mean, we definitely got some rehash and a lot of things that we knew about before, but they did show some new things as well.
Yeah, what's interesting to note is that in every single region they did it in a documentary style, but they all did it in a very different way.
Yep.
In Europe, it was full-blown documentary. In Japan and America, it was a bit more for a stage show, like a presentation.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that we did hear about is the Splatfests. So that was kind of an interesting thing. It's like these themed events, and Nintendo's going to be posing questions to players. Yeah,
they are. So basically, in America, when that first Splatfest starts, it will be cat versus dogs, and in Europe, it will be rock versus pop.
Yep. And apparently these things are going to begin on June 20th, and those who rank high enough can get a valuable Super C snail item to upgrade gear.
I think it will be a bit later in Europe. I think the 26th or something.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is also a bit weird, because that's roughly when Yoshi's Woolly World comes out, so...
Yeah, that's true.
I don't really understand the logic there, but oh well.
Yeah, and it's kind of a neat thing, though, just bringing the community together in a different kind of way.
Definitely, yeah. It feels like that you only have 24 hours pretty much to enter. But in that 24 hours, it seems like a lot will be going on. Trying to help your team to the top and trying to get those items will be a lot of fun. And it's you have different leaderboards than elsewhere in the game, so that makes it just a clean slate and just fair game for everybody.
Yep. Another thing that we heard about, and I feel like some people were kind of predicting we would hear something about this in one way or another, is DLC costumes for Smash Brothers. And I think, some offbeat predictions for that, maybe we would hear about the Inklings in Smash Brothers, and we didn't exactly get that, but we are getting costumes based on Splatoon characters in Smash Brothers in terms of Mii Fighter DLC outfits.
I don't think exactly that they look right. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
Yeah. To me, they look kind of off. They look kind of strange to me.
Yeah, they don't look exactly fantastic. Honestly, I am not that excited for it. And I heard it in America, correct me if I'm wrong here, you have to pre-order Splatoon at GameStop to get this DLC.
Yep, that's right. I didn't actually hear about what's going on in Europe, so what's going on over there?
You just buy it.
Ah, okay. That's simple enough for those in Europe.
Yeah. Also, in July, we're getting new 3DS cover plates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys getting that too. And we even heard about a Splatoon 3DS theme.
Yeah, that's coming alongside those plates in Japan on the 28th. I will probably get the plates from Japan because they're coming way earlier than Europe. Not exactly that I don't blame them. A lot of European people ask me hey, why are we getting the cover plates way later? And my theory is, Nintendo has already a lot of physical goods to ship on the 29th. So maybe it's better for them to delay it a little bit and give it its own free spot in July. But But at the same time, yeah, it makes for a better promotion of the game because people were asking, so what are these plates based off? But there you go.
I guess it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, I guess it's better than nothing. I will be just getting them from Japan though, and the theme as well. So I have not necessarily anything really to complain about.
Yeah. Another big thing to come out of this Direct is the global testfire demo thing, which is an interesting kind of thing Nintendo is doing that we never really seen them do something like this before, because basically, for those who haven't heard about this, it's an online-only demo, and it can only be played during certain hours on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, or just over Saturday here.
Yeah, in Europe.
Yeah, because the times everywhere are kind of different. Like, the weird thing is they're doing it everywhere at the same time, and that creates sort of problems for some regions, because it's like, it's really weird times. Like,
yeah.
I can sort of deal with it here, because, like, the first one starts here at 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., then the second one is from 1 to 2, and then the third one is from 9 p.m. to 10. So I can kind of cope with it, though it's necessarily weird to spend your beginning of the afternoon and beginning of the evening and beginning of the morning just with an hour of Splatoon.
It's kind of better here. I don't know if it's better, but it's kind of okay. It's 11 to 12 Eastern today. We're recording this on Friday, so it might be a little bit difficult for me to do it today just because, it's a little bit late at night and, things happen. And then the ones on Saturday are 4 to 5 a.m. and then 12 to 1 p.m., which is a little bit better.
Right. I mean,
it's basically just...
Yeah, I will definitely play it in a few hours and see what it is like, because, like, you can try 4 different weapons and 2 different stages, so... And those 2 stages are not the ones that were included with the E3 build of the game. So I never got to try those, so that will be very interesting for me.
Yep, that's cool. And just like an offbeat thing to mention is that, you actually noticed this, is that the demo has the full manual in the game, and one of the things we were hearing about is that basically there's a colorblind mode in the game. So that's cool.
Yeah. Like, the full manual basically gives all... So even if you can't, like, play the demo, just download the demo just to be safe, for 2 reasons. One, you can see the entire manual, so you already know about all the weapons that come standard with the game, all of the features and all those sort of stuff. So it's also kind of nice wrap-up for people who don't have seen the entire Direct. But at the same time, in Europe, this has another significance, because downloading the demo means you get a discount on the digital version of Splatoon.
Yep.
And
so yeah, by the time...
I do want to mention that a little bit, if I may. I think the pricing between North America and Europe is really weird.
Isn't it a little bit... Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper in Europe, and they're doing like a promotional thing where you download the demo and then you get like a certain amount off, right?
Yeah, basically with the discount it's like $40.
Yeah.
And America has to pay standard $60. Even if they buy the digital... Even if they purchase the digital version of the game.
The way Nintendo handles these promotions sometimes really confuses me, like why it applies to one region and not the other.
Yeah, and I don't understand for the first time ever why it is in Europe the cheapest to buy.
Well, I guess that's good in a way.
I guess it's good for us, but at the same time, you kind of want to have parity, because you will see Americans complaining about it, and they have. Oh, they have.
Yeah.
But it's sort of it's sort of a weird thing. I don't know if like Americans are more willing to pick it up. Maybe that's a factor of it. But having it basically $20 cheaper in Europe is a big deal.
Yeah, that's a really big difference.
It's like 33% of the game that we got for cheaper.
Yep. What are you
again,
thinking, Nintendo?
It's weird. It's really weird.
And we probably won't ever know why it is like that.
Nope, they will never tell us.
Alright, well, at least people can kind of look forward to this demo. It's basically 3 hours. It's 1 hour each and 3 times, and that's pretty much it. And then the full game launches on May 29th.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I mean, the Direct gave us some good impressions of new weapons in the game, and they also talked a lot about updates. And I think that's
that's true.
And I think that's another key factor here, because every few weeks they will add new stuff to it. Like, naturally, the first update will be the ranked mode, which we kind of knew about, like that they wouldn't have it available at launch, but shortly after to ensure that enough people are actually level 10.
Yep.
And I guess that's fair, but after that, it's kind of like wishy-washy, because on one half people will say the game you get on the disc is not fully complete then, and at one hand I understand, and the other hand I would say, from if you're not playing this game online, then you're not really fulfilling what the game is all about at the same time. But it's a really weird thing that they're just gradually unlocking content as they go along. It's something that we'll have to see over time how that progresses. We know that more stages will be coming, more gear, more weapons. But I think
matchmaking options.
Well, I was going to that in a bit, but to me, the biggest kicker is that the August update basically has all the matchmaking options people have clamoring for. So basically, people who really want to have a team with them or play against 7 other friends will have to wait 3 months to do it.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird.
Which is really, really weird to me. I think, honestly, that was not a good idea. If you honestly want to have a good scope online game, and they've been really focusing and hammering on that a lot. Again, I guess I can understand the stages and how you want to unlock them over time, but having matchmaking options in August, that is really off, because those are really important and vital to that final game.
Yeah.
And to people's game experience. And I wonder how that will affect people's here's me already thinking way ahead of things, but I wonder how this will affect the review scores of Splatoon.
I feel like if people are upset that alright, well, okay, I'm rambling here, but it is a tricky situation, like you were kind of suggesting at, because, those are options that people may want to see included in there, but it's not coming until later, and we do know that it's coming, so it's what do you do? Do you take that into consideration?
Yeah, or do you just review the game as is? Because I've been thinking about it when watching that Direct. I'm not sure if I would want to score Splatoon directly at launch.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
Because this is me being really transparent about things, but honestly, when all the options I would hoped for are going to be included in updates, then it's kind of what's the point of doing a review? Because every few weeks, the game is updated.
Yeah. I guess if you're looking at this on the bright side, if there is a bright side and you want to think like that, I guess Nintendo's keeping Splatoon updated for a fairly long period of time, and August isn't that far, after launch.
No, but in internet time, that feels like a long time for some reason.
Yeah.
But honestly, it just depends on a lot of factors, and Nintendo has not said everything, yet I feel they have said a lot, and we know that what is coming on day one. But at the same time, it kind of feels like they're kind of keeping their cards to their chest for some reason or another, surrounding all of the stuff they're going to do relating to updates. They gave us hints, but they didn't say exactly this is coming after the ranked update. This is what you'll exactly get after that ranked update.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping that they will release a sort of schedule on this stuff. That at least people will know what they can expect, because you can't have people hanging like that, especially if in America they have to pluck down $60 for it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully this happens, but honestly, it's a really, really weird situation. And I'm still excited for that game, don't get me wrong. I want to play the single player, I want to play with the various weapons, I want to see what options has on offer. But at the same time, I know already from the back in my mind that it is not the full game already.
Yeah, just gonna have to see how people react to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's really, really weird.
Okay, let's move on to some pretty good news for Nintendo, and that is their latest financial results. We know how they performed in we know how they performed in the latest fiscal year, and they did pretty well. And I think they're profitable for the first time in like 4 years now.
Yeah, they finally made a profit, which is fantastic.
Yep, we know
it's not bonkers like some people would hope, but it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. And we know some million sellers like Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Smash Bros. For 3DS, Tomodachi Life, Mario Kart 7, and Majora's Mask 3D. So those were all mentioned as like million seller titles.
They are now evergreen titles that everybody loves.
Yeah, that was actually a big point that Nintendo's president Satoru Iwata was mentioning in the follow-up Q&A briefing. He was making a big point out of Nintendo's sales of evergreen titles, because for a lot of games you just get a bulk of sales at the beginning and then they just fall off a cliff, but with Nintendo games they kind of sell in the long term, and that's kind of what they've been looking for with Mario Kart 8 and the new Smash Brothers.
I am not surprised, because like some DS games still sell until this day, so I can't say that I'm not really surprised about that.
Yep. And Amiibo's doing well too, because Nintendo confirmed that shipments of those figures are up to 10.5 million worldwide now.
Yep, they are. And they still haven't fixed any issue regarding to Amiibo.
Nope. We got an apology from Nintendo of America, I think a few days ago, and they were just basically, again, saying they were sorry, and they were going to look to replenish stock, and this is basically what Iwata was reiterating, but he doesn't really know when the situation is going to be resolved.
Yeah, it becomes kind of as things go along, the situation becomes actually worse, because in some cases I can't find certain Amiibo in Europe. Like, I really had to search for some Amiibo here. So overall, I feel just worldwide the situation it's not getting better, it's getting worse. So hopefully, like, every region just get a decent amount of stock in the very near future.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that North America is getting a huge amount of the shipments right now, because Iwata shared a graph, and it showed that 66% of those shipments are going to the US and Canada right now. And I think only 20% are going to Europe?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big discrepancy.
Yep.
I guess on the bright side, we have cards to look forward to. That was something he briefly mentioned again, because we're getting those Animal Crossing cards later this year.
Yeah, that's coming this summer to Japan, I think. So it will be interesting.
Japan's getting it in the summer?
Yeah, I think Japan is getting it this summer. So it will be interesting to see how that thing will do. Because they are really focusing together with that and Rhythm Heaven on females this summer.
Yeah, that was another point. That was kind of something I wasn't entirely expecting. Iwata was saying how they want to create more titles that are going to appeal or possibly appeal to feminine gamers.
Right. And I think that those two titles in the summer will be the focus for that in Japan.
Yep.
But we'll see how that performs, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And
what else was there?
Well, Iwata briefly talked about the Wii U's lineup, and he teased that there are unannounced games for the Wii U coming this fiscal year, and he also showed what's upcoming. So we know that Project Giant Robot's still on track, even though we haven't seen that in like a year.
What, Project Giant Robot is indeed still coming. Here's one funny thing that I want to mention every single time, like that release list pops up, and that is why the frick is Dr. Karishima's Devilish Brain Training still on Europe's release list? Stop doing that.
You guys still haven't gotten that game. I don't understand why or what's the holdup with that.
I heard that if you through some measure you would put in like an American copy in the European 3DS. Like, I'm not going to discuss it, but people will know what that is. It would actually give you the options of the European languages.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so all the languages for Europe are just there. Like, even my own language, Dutch, is there. There are in the game files. They are just not used because the game is not available in Europe yet.
That is very strange. I have to admit.
Like, what? Like, the last time it was... When was that game delayed? Like, in 2013, I think? Like, at the beginning of 2013? Because, like, I remember they talked about it at the tail end of 2012 in Nintendo Direct. Then March came around, and at 1 week before it came out, they delayed that game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
And now it's 2 years later, and they still haven't released that game.
Yep. Maybe one day you guys will get it.
Honestly, I think if it still comes out at this stage, it will possibly just be a digital release. Like, I honestly don't believe. Makes sense. Like, I honestly don't believe it will be a physical release anymore.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
A physical release?
No, if it's digital only. Right. I could see that happening.
Right. It's such a weird thing. Like, I don't understand why that's still in that release list, because if you're not going to release it, why is it there? You must have it there. You must have it there for some reason or another. It's not that difficult to understand. But I digress. I'm just looking way too deep into this, but it's kind of bugging me. Like, after so many years, that this is still a thing.
Yeah. Well, one game that hasn't come out anywhere yet is Zelda Wii U, and that was listed as TBD, I think, which is basically no date yet.
Yep. They basically removed the date and said it has no date anymore. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it seemed like people were making a much bigger deal out of it than I expected, because obviously we knew about the delay, and we knew it wasn't coming this year, so obviously it's just going to be like TBD, unless Nintendo really wanted to say 2016.
Yeah, so they basically don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think it's... Yeah. I don't feel like it's worth reading into like some people have been.
It's not worth looking into, but they really don't know how things will be going. And
yeah, we just have to hope it comes out next year.
Yeah. They also talked a few things, and I kind of want to go cruise through these because else it's just going to take forever. But they basically said hey, look, we're bringing attractions to Universal Parks and Resorts.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest news of the week, because Nintendo's opening up their IP even further to other companies, and this is something that a lot of people have wanted for a while.
They're bringing their IPs to a Comcast company.
But we don't know too much about how this is going to go right now. They just basically made the announcement.
Yeah, they said that their creative teams will work together on creating some unique experiences.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't know any of the specifics right now.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the entire thing. We don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah, but it is good to see Nintendo opening up their characters and their franchises to other things. They kind of think of themselves more as an entertainment company now, more than just strictly video games. Yeah,
they always had their things in different branches, but they're now expanding that a bit more for the modern age. So it's good to see that, I guess. Another thing they talked about a little bit more is integrated membership servers.
Yeah, tiny bit.
They talked about it a tiny bit, because they basically want to have it all like a common ID for the dedicated game device and then the smart device. And then people can log into Nintendo's website, and then there's a variety of services there, and an evolved version of the loyalty program.
Yep, it's sounding good so far based on the little information we know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting, though. They said it's going to be later this year, so I reckon we'll hear something like at the beginning of the second half of this year. Because they kind of have to talk about it if it's actually going to launch after Club Nintendo ends in September.
Yeah.
And I think they will.
Here it's already ended.
Well, it's ended, but you can still buy items, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's going to end sooner here, though, than like in Europe and Japan. I can't remember the exact date, but
that's possible. But in Japan and Europe, it ends on September 30th. Yeah. We'll see about that. And then they said we're also going to create, what was the number again of the mobile phone games? Like 7?
5 games I think it was 5 by the end of March 2017. I think so.
5 by March 2017. That seems about right, yeah. And they want to take the time with it because they want to make sure that every title can have the potential to be a hit.
Yep, and this was outside the financial stuff, but we heard that the Mario Kart producer, Hideki Kono, is going to be overseeing their mobile development.
That doesn't surprise me. Outside of Mario Kart, I'm not sure what the guy does.
I guess it can kind of put people's fears to rest in one way because he knows what he's doing, and he's been with Nintendo for many, many years.
Yeah. So he's been only solely doing Mario Kart for the last couple of years, I have the idea of. But we'll see how it goes. Sure.
Yeah. I think those are the big points, right?
I think so, yeah. I'm just going quickly through the list if we missed anything, but I don't think there was. No, there was nothing else, so.
There wasn't any huge, gaming-specific news. You know, there was the Universal deal, which was pretty big, but no real big gaming stuff, and we didn't hear about quality of life. I don't know if anyone cares about that, but didn't hear about quality of life.
Yeah, I kind of feel I'm interested in quality of life, but it's like, yeah, it's not there.
Yeah.
But we'll hope they still have some time to work on that. Like they've said, it wouldn't be this year. So I'm not surprised that they won't talk about it at every single occasion they have the chance to. But they're gonna have, again, just like the loyalty stuff, they're gonna have to talk about it at some point in the future. But when that point is, we are not really sure of, I guess.
Yep. Very interesting weeks and months ahead coming up for Nintendo, and E3 is only a month away at this point, so we're going to get a lot of big gaming news there.
Yeah, Here's my problem with E3. We know nothing about E3.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, because at this time last year we did know what Nintendo was doing, and they had all their plans basically lined up, but we still haven't heard anything. Maybe this coming week, hopefully.
Yeah, they pretty much said that they don't have anything. They don't have anything planned yet, which is super odd. Honestly, at this stage, we would have heard something, I guess.
Yeah, but we all know we're going to be there. They're going to be there, I should say.
They're going to be there, absolutely, for sure. But we're not sure what they're going to do from a standpoint of, are they going to do a presentation? Are they going to do this digital event again? We actually don't know what they're going to do.
I have a feeling it's going to be the digital event and then the Treehouse stuff again.
Yeah. Or it might just be a Nintendo Direct because they have less to talk about, but... Because I feel that last year they put a lot more quicker effort into it, because they were quicker to announce it, and then they put a lot of effort into making this work. Now it has been super silent on that stuff, and I don't really get the impression that I have much to talk about, because they are not as bold as last year.
We'll see. Hopefully they have stuff. Like, it's stupid to make comparisons, but, Sony and Microsoft haven't really talked about what they're doing either, so...
Yeah, but Microsoft and Sony are honestly like a very different beast than Nintendo. But Nintendo, you're not really sure what they're doing.
Yeah.
But usually when Nintendo says something, there's a good indication there. Like 2 years ago, they said from basically, we're not doing a conference, which was pretty bold. Like last year, they said from, we're going to do this really weird digital thing, which was, again, really bold. And now it has been sort of silent, which is, if you compare it to the last 2 years or so, that is honestly a bit weird.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Again, hopefully we'll hear something soon. I wouldn't be surprised if, next week they'll just shut everyone up and they'll announce what they're doing, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Alright, so I think we'll wrap things up there. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's okay. Always good to talk about E3.
It's good to talk about this stuff, yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so Daan, how about you tell people where they can catch you on Twitter, and if you want, you can mention your YouTube channel.
Yep, you can find me on the Twitters, which is @Nintendaan, that is NANTENDAAN, or you can find me on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Nintendaan1. That is the same stuff, but that with a 1 at the end. It's that simple.
Alright. I actually don't mention it here on the actual chat, but if people want, they can find me on Twitter at NE_Brian, BRIAN. I'm pretty quiet on there, but if you have something to say, I'd love to chat with you, because I like talking about Nintendo stuff.
Okay, here's your big assignment for the week. Say hi to him. Just the word hi. H-I, it's that simple.
I like highs.
Send him a hi, particularly with a picture of Kirby.
I like Kirby too. Highs and Kirby, that's good stuff.
I think that's the perfect combination, so that's your assignment for the week.
Alright guys, I think on that note we will wrap things up, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.